And so can you just give us just some of the baseline results of what you guys found from the study?
Yeah, so in the study, we found that if kids watched a 1-minute gun safety video compared to a 1-minute car safety video that was recorded with the Ohio State Chief of Police, they were more likely to come out and tell us about the guns. They were less likely to pick up the guns. They were less likely to shoot the gun if they picked it up, and they held it for a shorter amount of time, and they pulled it in general fewer times. Yes.
Well, that sounds like really positive results. I mean, that's a really good outcome, at least for this specific study that you guys have undertaken here. Can you just give us a little bit of background on how exactly the process worked? Like, how did you find these results? Like, what was the setup for this?
So the setup for the study was that parents contacted us if they were interested in the study. We obviously had advertising out on Facebook and other social media platforms. And then parents contacted us and asked us to be a part of the study. They had to have 2 kids. So either these kids had to be siblings, they could be friends, but it had to be 2 children in the same age range. So from 8 to 12 years old. They did not have to be the exact same age, but in that age range. And we sent parents different documents, asking them about their demographics, asking them about their kids' interest in guns. And we also sent kids a gun safety video. So by random assignment, basically by the flip of a coin, kids were randomly assigned, these pairs of kids were randomly assigned to watch either a gun safety video with the Ohio State Chief of Police or a car safety video. And these videos were about 1 minute long. So in the gun safety video, the police officer informed the kids that guns are not toys. They are not to be played with. If they ever find a real gun, they should never pick it up or move it. Instead, they should find an adult and tell them about the location of the gun. They should not bring guns to schools, and if they see or hear anything about guns, they should report it to the school or the police officer at hand.
Okay, so that's basic gun safety training for children. You see that as the common advice that most people train firearms. I'm a firearms instructor myself, and that is what you would tell a child. So you showed them that video to half of them?
Yes, and
then the other half got another video that was about car safety instead.
Yes. So the other kids were sent a video where the same police officer in the same uniform was talking about motor vehicle safety. So basically car safety. So more in the domain of always wear a seatbelt. You should always buckle up before the car starts moving. Kids under the age of 13 should sit in a back seat, and that kids should have a booster seat if they're not over a certain height, and so forth.
Okay. And so they were very similar videos that they watched, but one was about gun safety and one was about car safety. And then you brought them, was it a week later, into a laboratory where you guys were observing them, right?
Yes. So about a week later, after watching this video on their device of choice at home alone, they were asked to come into the lab. And when they arrived in the lab, they were first asked to watch a 20 minutes movie clip. This was either a clip from a movie called The Rocketeer or a clip from the movie called The National Treasure.
Both great movies, by the way.
Yes, both action movies with violence and but still appropriate for the age range of these kids. And after watching 20 minutes of this movie, they were asked what they thought about the movie. And so they rated on a questionnaire and an iPad what they thought about the movie. And after doing that, they were placed in a different room where we have different toys and games, such as Jenga, Uno, checkers. But we also had Nerf guns and foam swords and 2 9mm handguns. And all of this was placed in the file cabinet in the room. So in the top drawer, you had the toy or the games. In the middle drawer, you had the toys. And in the bottom drawer, you had the 2 9mm handguns. And so these handguns are obviously modified, so they could never be used as firearms. But basically what we've done to those is that we've replaced the magazine with a counter that counts the number of times the trigger is pulled with sufficient force to discharge the gun.
Okay.
And so during the time that the kids were in the room, we were watching the kids on a hidden camera in the room. And these
were just real quick on the gun aspect. These were real firearms that you guys had disabled, so they can't physically fire any ammunition, and there obviously wasn't any ammunition present, right? And but they had the actual feel and weight of a real firearm. They weren't like a BB gun or an airsoft gun or anything like that. It was very obvious that these were real firearms when you handled them.
Yes, they have the weight of a real firearm because they are real firearms. The only thing that we've taken out is the part with the magazine, but we have replaced it with a lot of wires inside the gun, so it still has the same weight. And before each session with these kids in our lab, we conducted thorough investigations that these were in fact the same guns and that there was no other objects in the room that we were using than the objects that were supposed to be there. So the screen that they were watching the movie on or the toys, which was really important to us for the safety part.
Yes, certainly. And so they're in there. They don't understand, obviously, that this is part of the study, I assume.
No, most kids did not understand.
Okay. And so they're in there. They think they're playing, there's just some time. Maybe they think they're there to watch the movies and rate them. And then they go into this room to, wait for whatever. And there's some toys to play with. And then the toys are in the same area, the same filing cabinet as the firearms. So they're, it's more likely that they'll come across them, I guess. And so from that point, what happens?
Yeah. So first of all, the kids are told when they enter the lab that they are here so that we can see what kids do for entertainment. And so that's why they're watching a movie. That's why they're playing with toys. And so from the point of when they are placed in the room with the toys and the guns, we are sitting with the parents in our surveillance room for 20 minutes watching what the kids do if they find the gun. And so we saw that most kids open the drawer with the guns. We also saw that kids either they reacted by staring at each other, and some luckily came running out to tell us about the gun or the guns. And then I was sitting in the main room and my research assistant and the parents were sitting in the lab room so that they would have someone approaching them if they came out. And so when they came out, they would tell me and I would ask them, I would tell them that I would take them away and that they could continue to play. If they did not come out and tell us, which most kids did not, we would see what they did during the playtime. And so some kids decided to pick up the guns, and when they held it, they noticed that it was heavy and was surprised by this because it felt like a real gun, and they put it back down. Other kids held it for a longer time and were more curious about the gun. Some kids decided to pull the trigger on the gun, and some kids decided to pull the trigger quite a few times. Others decided to only do it once and were kind of scared and put it back down. But we also had kids that pulled them up and started shooting at each other and playing with them like it was a toy. Right,
which is the concerning behavior. That's the thing that we don't want to see, right, from kids who find a gun, because that's how accidental shootings happen and how kids can be killed. It's something that is a real problem that does obviously occur every year in this country at a rate that nobody is satisfied with, and everyone wants to see reduced. And so the interesting thing that you found, though, with this, as we talked about at the very beginning, is that there was a noticeable statistical difference between the kids who watched the gun safety video and the kids who didn't, right?
Yes, there was a significant difference between the kids that watched the gun safety video. They were more likely to come out and tell us. They were less likely to pick up the gun they were less likely to pull the trigger, and they were less likely, or they held it for a shorter amount of time. And so just showing them this 1 minute gun safety video had a huge impact on the behavior. Obviously, we didn't find what you would hope for, that 100% of the times they didn't pick up the gun, but there was a huge difference.